You've got me for the next 2 weeks, and we're talking about suffering. We're talking for the next 2 weeks. You're going to get up Saturday morning and think, oh no, more suffering. The causes of suffering. So you got me for these 2 weeks. And what's really interesting, because this wasn't originally assigned to me, I changed off with Jesse because of his wife's suffering. She fell and really shattered her wrist, and I changed my classes with him. And the only reason why I bring this up is because the class that I had last week with the ongoing students was the same subject, really. So I'm thinking, as I'm preparing for these classes, there must be a message there. I'm surrounded with suffering and desire. Did everybody get their handouts? And you got both for the 2 weeks? Good. Then you're ready. Did somebody not get them? You didn't get them? Okay. Alrighty. Just before I go on, last week's class was talking about suffering, the first noble truth. Are there any questions from that class? Things that you went home and you were concerned about? That's a good chunk within the first noble truth. The first part of the chapter covers a lot about suffering. Okay. All right, good stuff. All right, so, alrighty. So everybody's here, and you're here all for different reasons. Your paths are different. Over the years, we've had many students that have had profound reasons for coming to this class. Maybe there was one lady, she lost a child. Yeah. Several other students have lost loved ones, parents, or gone through a divorce or separation. Profound reasons. Other people, they're just really on a spiritual journey, checking the place out. Or they're curious. I was curious. That's why I came here. I actually came here because I wanted to study Tai Chi with a master. And I had been doing Tai Chi for about 7 years and wanted to work with somebody at a higher level. And that's what brought me here. And then I got really curious about what was going on here and why everybody seemed so happy. No, really. And I came up here. My good friend back there, he's actually greater than I am. Sorry about that. We started at the same time, right, Lynn? And
you're here a year before me.
Oh, what? Oh.
You're an old lady.
That's just retaliation for the break.
I love you too, Lynn.
I dye mine gray. So I get to the bar.
Yeah, it's sufferings. They're already laughing. So, whatever it may be, whatever your reason, this is really a formatted class that has taken years to develop. And we're all so fortunate because this type of experience isn't available in many places, especially with offering you the meditation and the classes. Andrew, when he was here, spoke to what's developed with the facilitators, the different nature of us all, how we all present a little differently, but we all work together. And our concern here is for the students that we're not creating conditions for you. So we take this very seriously. So we work collaboratively together for that. Now, it's important that you realize that the program is formulated to allow you to stop, to allow yourself, to give yourself permission to stop. your crazy life, your thoughts always going around. Give yourself permission to meditate. Take that home with you if it's only 5 minutes a day, twice a day, or 10 minutes if you can progress to that. Give yourself permission to do this. It's hard because this is an opportunity and it's not easy because what you've learned so far with dependent origination, with cause and effect, with karma, you're all going, oh, geez, wish I knew that a long time ago. Now I got all this stuff on my back. Got to deal with it. But this is a real opportunity for you to progress on to it. And if there's something that's really bothering you, you can address it. And if the people aren't alive for you to address, then talk to them. It's a great opportunity to really get a good understanding, to ask the questions here. And we challenge you, as Andrew talked about, the Buddha set things up with the 4 reliances for a reason. To say it's okay in this understanding, in this way of life, to question. Like, why is this? Why do we suffer? Where is this coming from? What are the causes of it? I don't agree with you, you might say, and that's fine. That's good. Because that's when you have an opportunity to put a voice to it and take it a step further and then say, okay, fine, maybe I'll go home and think about that for a while. And when you come to a realization that, oh yeah, I'm seeing this in my life, then you'll say, okay, fine. It's all right. Now your handout, it says that suffering and pain are inalienable facts of life. How did you feel about when you read that? Depressed? It's true. They are. And you know, like the Buddha, he taught that in life there's suffering, but he said that in life there's joy. There is joy in life, a lot of great joy. But as it was said last week, as Jesse said, when joy ends, there's suffering. Because you want that joy. You want to keep it going. You don't want to suffer. That's just a fact of life. That's our nature. But the Buddha, take a look at Prince Siddhartha. He was surrounded by abundance. He left all of that to go out and figure out what the solution was. What was the cause? The reason that we suffer. Out he went. But as your handout says, the reason that we suffer is ultimately it comes from our mind. You may not agree with that, but spend some time looking at it. You're the only one in there, I hope. Some schizophrenics, there's many in there. But being a nurse, I've certainly worked with people with multiple personalities, but usually there's only one of us in there. Or maybe there's the good one and the bad one, I don't know. But normally, once you start to see, but then we start to look at our world around us. And this is all conditioned. These perceptions are all part of our mind as well. Probably haven't looked at it. I certainly didn't before I started coming here. They all appear real. Everything that's going on appears real to us. Solid, but it isn't. And when you start to study and look deep, you're going to start to see how the mind works. You're going to see psychological profiles. You're going to see patterns of thoughts and feelings. And these thoughts and feelings condition your behavior. And guess what? We repeat them over and over. They're dramas in our life. And when we're born into a family, your parents are of such nature, and siblings, if they're older, are of such nature, and you got to fit in there. So you get your own dramas, and they get played out time and time again. But then you start to notice and you start to realize when you open up and you look at these teachings, you see cause and effect in process. You see that teaching. I do this, I get this result. Or I do this and I'm conditioning that result. And we see that certain actions produce suffering and some produce happiness. And that the mind really is the source of our unwholesome actions and thoughts. We see how they condition. And that craving and anger are attached to ignorance. That's the source, and they lead to wrong views. And you're going to hear more with the fourth noble truth about right view. That desires and cravings and greed spring, and you'll see this terminology, harmful fixations. Harmful fixations, or kleshas. You'll see that terminology along with harmful fixations quite a bit. And that these are selfish, emotional, and mental states. They arise out of ignorance, and they are the condition of unwise actions causing us to harm self and others. We harm ourselves all the time. We're our biggest enemy. On your sheet, on your handout, I believe it's the second page of part 1, it lists the 3 poisons. These are unwholesome root delusions. They cause suffering, they cloud your mind. They cloud your mind because of our perceptions. And I'm going to get into that. It depends how much time we have today or next week. They are deceptive. And they're deceptive because they mislead us. They mislead us through wrong views. Again, this is going to be covered in the fourth noble truth. Wrong views leading to wrong thoughts, to wrong actions. Now the first 2 poisons, greed and anger. Greed and anger have ignorance at the root of them. And we pursue things that we think are going to make us happy. And we really stay away from things that cause us discomfort. But I want you to think about challenges and discomfort in the future. Because it's good, everything's going good. I got a good meditation practice. Everything's going good. It's perfect. Look, just changed. I'm this wonderful Buddhist. And then your world falls apart. Something bad happens. And suddenly this wonderful practice of being calm and serene is gone. But this is the best time for you to look at how you reacted in that moment and what you can do and learn from that experience. The challenges are the best opportunities for practice here. Now, greed is an attraction to something that we think will gratify us, make us happy. Oh, yeah. And it's defined as attempting to possess more than what one needs. That's greed. And often it's achieved at the expense of others. That's horrible when we look back at what led up to 2008, the subprime mortgages. These greedy people. But therefore the people that bought into this were buying into a pipe dream because they did not realize that they didn't have sufficient funds to finance, that they didn't look far enough ahead to realize that if situations changed and the bottom fell out, where would they be? And then 2008, it affected the whole world. We used to talk about the interconnectedness of the world when the tsunami hit, but this is even a better example of interconnectedness with what was motivated through the subprime mortgages and internationally how the whole global economy went down the tubes. And many people lost everything. I certainly, in my retirement portfolio, got a hit, like many people. So at first we may desire something or want something, and that's okay. Don't think to want something and desire something is wrong. You may want to change yourself. You may have a big desire to improve your family. There's nothing wrong with wanting and desiring. It's when it becomes excessive. That's when it becomes poison or a hindrance. Last week I used the example of shoes. This week I'm going to go back to my old favorite, chocolate cake. It's my birthday. I'm on this diet. No carbs from refined whatever. Cut back on the sugar. Watch the fat, the salt, and the sugar intake. Okay, watch all that. And I open the fridge and there's a birthday cake. A triple layer double fudge with my name on it. Oh, my sweet, wonderful husband went out and bought this. Wow. No, I'm not. I closed the door. I open the door. I'll take a sliver. I cut this fine sliver. Very carefully, this sliver. Put it on the plate. Cover it back, the cake back up. Put it back in the fridge. I sit there with the cake. I smell it. I have memories of double chocolate, triple fudge cakes like before. I start to salivate.
You're making me smell it
Yeah.
A little less detail.
It's getting worse. I want you to suffer. But I savor every mouthful, every morsel of that cake. I savor it. You know what I mean? You've been there. You finish it.
You want more?
You go back.
Another slice will hurt.
Another little sliver. You're following. This time you don't cover it up. You leave it on the countertop. It's excessive desire. Husband comes home, he opens the fridge and says, "Who ate the half of the cake?" Meanwhile, you're sitting there and you got this big in your stomach. And you have a weigh-in tomorrow, right, Tony? Going to the doctor and you're going to be weighed in. You're really hurting yourself. We do this. What do you do? We suffer, but we don't realize that this pleasure is just going to be short-lived. A momentary fix. It's impermanent, but the weight isn't. That's the problem. That's suffering. We get on this treadmill. Anger, the next place. Also known as aversion, hatred, rage, animosity, and finally ill will. It happens to all of us, even Buddhists. And even some highly reasoned and realized masters admit that sometimes they get angry. Oh, yes. But I want you to know that there is nothing righteous and nothing justifiable with anger. Even when a guy cuts you off on the exit ramp, especially if it's icy and you're slamming on your brakes, or a co-worker takes credit for your ideas, or even somebody close and trusted betrays you. It isn't justifiable. You may think it is. But all anger is known in Buddhism as a fetter, an F-E-T-T-E-R, known as a restriction to our realization, a restriction to our practice. We get possessed by anger. We've all been there. And the problem is when you're so angry, You can't calm yourself down. You can't think to be mindful. You can't think to meditate. And the thing is, you've got to stop and realize that this is created by yourself. We think that anger is caused by someone outside of us, such as other people or a frustrating series of events. We want revenge. We want justice. All here.